Welcome everybody, and welcome all you for who are listening and watching this live session on YouTube. And I hope you will all benefit from the information which is shared in here. And please feel welcome to leave your remarks or questions or comments below in the comment section if you have one during this live session, so we can all engage with you during the webinar and answer to your questions. I think that's the nice thing about this live YouTube thing. And today we are very, very lucky to have many interesting people joining on this live webinar. They are part of the COPE working group on psychological safety, bullying, and sexual assault and harassment in the maritime sector. And they will share their perspective on diversity, equality, inclusion, and SASH in the maritime sector. And this working group is working on this stuff for a while now, and we are really happy to share our story together with you. So please allow me to introduce to you the people on this webinar in here. And let me start by Ambassador Nanti Garagitou. If you would just take the floor and introduce yourselves.
Thank you very much, Eva, and welcome to this. And let me acknowledge everybody who is on this call, the working group members, as well as the general viewership who are with us. And thank you for joining. My name is Nancy Karikito. I work with the government of Kenya as the principal secretary in charge of shipping and maritime. And I am also an advocate of diversity, especially in the maritime sector, and I'm very honored to be part of this working group, and I'm looking forward to very fruitful outcomes. I want to thank the organizers and COPE for this initiative, and also to acknowledge with gratitude this mega step that was reached yesterday, and the fact that we are on course now. And I look forward to walking this journey with each and every one of you, and very hopeful for a successful outcome. Looking forward. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And you already explained something which we need to announce in this live webinar. So I hope we just created some curiosity about the news we have to tell people. But before we do that, please allow me to introduce Mr. Alalamari. Would you please introduce yourselves as well?
Thank you, Eva. It's an honor being here today with you and being on live stream on YouTube. My name is Alalamari. I'm the permanent representative of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to the National Maritime Organization, IMO. My background is a Navy officer. Before I joined the IMO as a permanent representative, I've been traveling around the world. I am a seafarer and a proud seafarer, and being part of this working group is helping me to exchange with my colleagues around the world on matters that are to help a better life. Thank you again, and happy to be here.
Thank you so much, and happy to have you as well. And excited to work with you as well in this working group. Please let me go further with introducing Ms. Pamela Kern. So Pam, would you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Eva. And everybody out there, thanks for attending. So hello, my name is Pam Kern. I am in a unique position as a former seafarer, psychotherapist, specifically in trauma, and a wife of a seafarer. I design maritime prevention and intervention programs specifically for maritime. And I look specifically at the psychological lens, as well as the overall well-being lens. I'm especially interested in how culture and stigmas play a role in seafarers in mental health, in an environment where is a contained environment, and how the environment affects behavior. I worked on ships for 18 years, in particular cruise ships. I worked in corporate office of cruise lines, as well as an employee assistance program in New York City. So I understand the profit and people model. My research and interests, in particular working with COPE, is onboard mental health, psychological safety, trauma, stress, well-being, and how we can improve the overall functioning of the seafarer from the social, emotional, and physical lens. And I've always heard when I facilitated change when working aboard ship, well, it's always been done this way. Why do we have to change it? So if I can see opportunities for change as agents of change, like what COPE is, I'm all on board. So I'm grateful to be part of this group. Thank you.
Nice. Very grateful to have you. And then that leads us to introducing Mr. Eric the Wiki. Could you please take the floor and introduce yourselves as well?
Well, sure. Thank you, Ava, and thank you, Pam, and Assam, and Nancy. I have to tell you what a great small group this is, because they're all very smart, capable, bright people. And, I realized we were onto something special when we engaged in an intervention at IMO, and we started to get a response and support from places that we typically wouldn't have expected. And the exciting part about this working group and the whole members of the working group is we have great diversity in backgrounds and cultures, and that's what is beautiful about this world that we've all been allowed to spend time in, is we get to share different cultures. And I think the first of us that got to discover different people and different cultures, and the fact that people look different and talk different and pray to a different God and love different people, and you realize there are no mistakes on earth, right? And it is part of the whole kind of, whether it's God, the universe, Allah, it doesn't matter who you pray to, there's this wonderful scheme or system that was created, and none of it's wrong. And that's the beauty of it. And guess who discovered that first? Mariners, right? People who went to sea. And I just love that history. And I just thank my lucky stars every day that I get to work in this industry, even though I don't get to go to sea. I went to sea to really discover who I was. And I was a bit of a wayward young adult, and had to change my life and my behaviors. And I was actually in the U.S. Coast Guard Reserve at the age of 16. I had a path laid out to be really very focused and very extraordinary. And it didn't get fixed. I still was, I had struggles with things. And those struggles didn't go away until I went to sea in the Merchant Marine. And I got to tell you, I learned some of the most wonderful values as to be a good and decent human being. And I learned about diversity, and I learned about different cultures, and I learned about different people, and really came up with this theory that the ocean knows no borders, right? It's the ocean is what connects us all. And so I'm really grateful to get to participate in this group, and thank you for allowing me to be part of this group. It's wonderful. I know this, I am the least perfect person that I know. And as the least perfect person that I know, we get opportunities to become better human beings by having dialogue like this. But the dialogue improves from people from all over the world. And that's the beauty of harmonizing kind of what we are going to be doing on vessels that are transiting the whole globe. And boy, we couldn't be with a better group. So thank you all for allowing me to get to share and listen once in a while. That's a nice part.
Thanks. And I think we can all agree that it's so nice to know that the ocean has no borders and to just all feel connected like that, like a really interconnection. And yeah, totally agree with enjoying to have this conversation. And please, if you're watching this, by the way, then please leave your comment or question so we can answer them. That would be really nice to have, you know, engagement. And otherwise we will just quickly pass on to the thing we wanted to announce and talk about, because we have some pretty nice news to share. Because the IMO, the International Maritime Organization, this week discussed a paper around the topic we are working on. So on psychological safety, bullying, sexual assault and harassment in the maritime sector. And there was some really nice discussion going on and how to take this forward and what work should be done. And the work that our group is working on is on creating more language on the PSSR course, on a module course for social responsibility. And that idea was picked up. So the nice thing we can announce is that this work will go forward in the Maritime Safety Committee next year, and is part of the comprehensive review of the SSCW with priority. So everybody within IMO also agreed that this is an important subject and an important matter for the people who are working at sea, and that this work has to be taken seriously and has to be taken forward. So that was certainly a nice announcement. And the other announcement was that it is going to be part of an ILO-IMO working group to discuss it even more and also even broader. So not only the education part, but also, for example, the reporting part. So that's an exciting and very positive thing, I think. And maybe I can ask the panel today if they want to reflect or discuss on this. Just feel welcome to say a few words if you like.
I'd be happy to start. While working on the course, as a former seafarer, I noticed a lot of things that are still in existence when I started at sea in 1996. I left in 2012. So it's exciting to update because so many things have changed. The awareness of mental health and well-being and even stigma and psychological safety. So bringing a lot of land-based concepts to the maritime industry is, I find, to be exciting. Bringing it up, to date, if you will, because as a seafarer, you spend your time at home on land and your time at sea, and kind of, joining that as a united front, so we can meet seafarers where they're at. So what they experience at home in terms of awareness, and they can also experience on the ship. So it's really exciting to also work with the rest of the team on this, and Jillian as well. I know she's not here today, but it's just exciting stuff to be agents of change.
Yes, certainly it is. And it's also nice that it's, I don't know how you call this in English, but in Dutch we have a phrase for it, that it's broadly carried, so that everybody agrees that this has to be done. And I think our group also shows that it's carried by many, many different persons with many different backgrounds and many different, people. And the people on the call, by the way, for the people that are watching, are not our group is much bigger and wider, but the people on the call today are just they were not afraid to go on YouTube live. So thank you again. Then we can have our continue our discussions on the great news we had from IMO this week. So please, as some of you would just help me out a little bit and introduce people to what was announced at IMO and the way forward with the work we are doing, I can then quickly see if Pam and Eric can be joined as well.
Well, thank you, Eva. Hello, everyone. It's nice to be here today with all of you. Great news, as Eva said, the IMO and its Maritime Safety Committee has discussed and acknowledged the importance of the work we are doing. It is a very important thing that IMO acknowledged the medical safety and sexual assault and harassment in the maritime sector, and the acknowledgement for progress to work for all the seafarers around the world, which we pay them respect and tribute. Sadly, we had this electronic problems, but it happens everywhere. But happy to be here and to chat. So if anybody has a question or something, I will be very happy to speak about and to present myself back again to our colleagues. My name is Alalamari, and I'm the permanent representative of Saudi Arabia to the International Maritime Organization. Maybe I will hand it to Nancy. Maybe she would say something today.
Thank you, Alalamari, for that introduction. And let me say, my name is Nancy Karikito, Principal Secretary in charge of Shipping and Maritime in Kenya, also Ambassador and Special Envoy on Maritime and Blue Economy. And I'm also grateful to be part of this group, really honored and happy that we've got good news from yesterday's session in the IMO, and that we've got the green light to continue with this work that is really, really important and very encouraging for us, because it gives humanity back to the people, or rather makes them feel safe. As we know, research has shown that victimization, harassment, and bullying does have an impact on an individual's safety-related behavior and can be a serious threat to both the individual and the organization they are working for. And we've heard from Pamela a few minutes ago that the issues that bedevil us on land, on the shipping side, are also present on board ships, and this makes it even more complicated when they are for the people working on board, because first of all, they are in a captive environment. The work environment means that they live and work on board in a work environment that they are not able to live like us who work on land. If I'm in an office and there is a threatening situation, then I have an escape by going home. But this is not an option that's available to the seafarers, and therefore a work environment for them that is free from victimization and also harassment, and that makes them feel safe is very important, not just for the ship and the cargo, but also for the marine environment. And also we know that if the workplace is more, the workplace will be more productive, more innovative, and more engaging when there is a diverse community, and also where the environment is supported by inclusive practices. And therefore, this work, all those issues make this work very, very important. Thank you for now.
Yes, thank you, Nancy. And nice to have you back, Pam and Eric also. So I think, Nancy, you said some really important and very true words, that because sometimes you hear that the question raised that why psychological safety and a safe workplace environment on the mental health section is important, and why it is important on operational safety as well. And I think creating, a better, more positive, psychologically safe working environment, for example, setting healthy, a set of boundaries, or just discuss how you behave with each other, really sets a good standard in order to have a safe working environment where everybody is allowed to speak up, or everybody feels free to speak up about what they think or what they want or what they see. So maybe we can say a few words more about that. Who wants to take the floor, thinks that they can contribute to saying why is this important and maybe also essential to operational safety, and where do we start? Maybe Eric?
So thank you, Eva, and my apologies for the technical difficulties there. Literally, I ran down to the first floor from the fifth floor and came back up. It was a little heavy-winded, so bear with me here on my thoughts. This is kind of indicative. You have a bit of a crisis, right? And when there's a crisis, especially in a closed community with a small group of community members, we really have to rely off of everybody's individual expertise. In the hierarchy of how ships are managed in a traditional sense, you've got a guy that's in charge, the king, if you will, and the king directs the orders and the governance of the community. And boy, you don't question the king, and or the president, or the captain, or whomever's in charge. And what's happening is where education has been actually increasing over the last 50 years within the general populace of almost every society in the world. You don't basically just say these are the rules and that's the way it is anymore. There needs to be this participation or engagement in conversation as to why these are the rules. And the rules are created normally through best practice. And, over generations and centuries, the culture says, this is the way it is. It's, when we've had hiccups, we've adjusted. And that's just the way it is. Well, as we have advanced culturally across the globe, people are not as eager to just say, this is the way it is. They want to engage, they want to have their thoughts, and you basically want to create an environment that evolves performance. That cannot happen in the traditional sense that we operate ships. You have to really start to flatline that management system in order for even the ordinary seaman to have an opinion. Now that sounds awfully liberal and awfully, touchy-feely, and that's the way it is. I have actually used the model to say, when everything is going well, it's my crew or my team or my staff or my faculty's fault. And they think, if it's going well, it's our fault. Yeah, that's right. But when it's going poorly, it is my fault as the leader. And if we actually, as leaders, in whatever position that we're in, take that sense of responsibility and own that, that's leadership. What you want is to develop future leaders, because we've got to pass the torch. We age, right? I've yet to meet anybody who kind of escaped death eventually, right? We all become part of the earth and the dust of the earth. We have to pass this on to generation after generation and make it not only stimulating performance-wise, but intellectually stimulating. The greatest organ in our body is our brain. And it's really just an amazing computer, and it's capable of doing so many things and assessing so many situations. So what we don't want to ignore that. We don't want to set that or lock that box up, even if it's the lowest individual on the totem pole, if you will, as we say here in the US. What we want to do is inspire and facilitate information and conversation, not to the point where it gets overboard either. There's a limit to it. You don't debate. If there's a certain point where the leader has to say, okay, this is my position and we've got to take it, and we can revisit the position after 3 months or 4 months of the decision to see if it worked or it didn't work. But there has to be that hierarchy as well for the decision making in order to really make sure that we're not getting too radically in our change, or radical in our change, excuse me. So it is a delicate balancing act of how we start to augment or facilitate change in ways that it's again, gets back to kind of the primary focus of running ships: safe, efficient, cost effective. It is a business. It's got to be safe, environmentally safe, secure, environmental standards. And now we're talking about this wonderful concept called human rights at sea. Well, while there's human rights, we still have to run this really, really dangerous piece of equipment. So there has to be kind of this balancing of hierarchy that doesn't get too overboard, but it also allows people to engage in their thoughts, in ideas to improve the system. And boy, you have to be a strong leader to be comfortable with that concept of being able to listen. And I think we are. I think the globe is creating much better leaders today, even though the world is a little screwy today. It's screwy because the weaker leaders, intellectual leaders, are threatened by the more thoughtful leaders and more progressive leaders. And so you've got this shift in dynamic right now. And the more progressive leaders, everybody's saying, oh, this guy. It's because they're becoming more progressive, and I think you're seeing that in almost every culture. We're seeing new leaders being born and developed, and they're making changes in their communities, on their ships, in their workplace, in their countries, and people are paying attention, and you're seeing progress being made. And I think that's the opportunity that we have, but literally in the second oldest industry ever on Earth. Right, it is. Seafaring is the second oldest career path in the world in recorded history. So the reality is, we don't want to change too much because of that tradition, but we've got to find that sweet spot that protects all those who participate in it. It's really exciting when you think about it.
Yeah, it is. And I totally agree. And I think we all forget that sometimes, how cool the maritime sector is and how old it is. It's ancient. It's like the world was discovered with people who were sailing the world on ships. And then they started trading. And then you had the merchant marine. And I think, like you said, it's very important to have to listen to the people who are on board of that ship, because it's a very isolated environment if you work on a ship, and you really have a big responsibility yourself, because you're only with a small group of people, and you're on that ship, and it's not your natural environment. If you fall overboard, you fall in the sea, and you learn how to survive, but you cannot survive for so long if you don't know what to do and if you don't help each other. And I think that's like the really basic things we need to remind ourselves of, and also remind our future mariners of, because I think the next thing I wanted to discuss with you is how we can hook on people to work in the maritime sector, and how to enable them to build on a maritime career and have a maritime future. And I think that the work that our working group is doing, like creating a more psychologically safe working environment, and just do something about the bullying and the assault and harassment going on, I think that is certainly something which is a good thing for all the people who want to start a maritime career, or who wish to work at sea maybe one time in their lifetime. And I think that's important to just see how we can build a better future for future mariners and seafarers. So maybe as someone, Nancy, do you want to say something about that? Or how do you see it?
Thank you, Eva. I think we have to be more clear. We have to promote self-awareness among the seafarers, particularly they join so young. And, unless we show them up, us who are more mature and who have more knowledge, and help them to address personal biases themselves. Like I said, support clear, consistent, and open communications. Give them the courage to call out, inappropriate behavior, including issues like microaggressions and also physical actions. Setting and respecting boundaries, and also providing multiple professional and also confidential reporting routes. The idea being, to be open about issues, not to, shut down or not to discourage communication, and, allowing them and giving them a safe environment in which to speak openly. I think that's a good beginning point. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it certainly is. And maybe I can pass this on to Pam as well, because I know she has something nice to say about why psychological factors matter for maritime safety. And she has, I think, an expertise to share about biases in this regard. So Pam, would you please?
Yeah, exactly, Eva. When it comes to psychological safety and also attracting a younger demographic, the strategies of asking mariners, do more, be more, doesn't work. It's the relationship at work is just like a personal relationship. Would you stick around if you don't feel safe? If you don't feel valued or you don't feel trusted, would you stick around in that relationship? Because work is a relationship, and on board, it's also a relationship, and it's even harder because you're in a contained environment. So would you marry or divorce your work or relationship on board? And the younger generation wants to have more engagement, and it's not automatic anymore where you must do this, as Eric was saying. The rules have changed, and the younger generations want to have more engagement. Engagement leads to commitment. So if mariners don't feel safe, they don't feel that it's worth it, they're not going to invest in it. So how can we get that investment? And looking at the dyad or the relationship of work from the office, as well as from your team on board. The environment is set at the top, and all the research shows, both land-based and ships, that it's at the top, and that mood trickles down. And if you were a former seafarer yourself, you know that what you're walking into when you have a certain person at the top, what that mood will be. And you also know when that certain person will be leaving for their vacation, if it's not a positive mood. So I think it's really important to look at the relationship on board and ask yourself, like you would ask yourself in any relationship on land, would you stick in that relationship? Would you want to marry that relationship or divorce?
That's an interesting thought. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's, I think, good to have this reflection on yourself also. And the last thing I wanted to talk about before we have to end this meeting was something I wanted to ask Mr. Alalamari, because during IMO last week we worked, there was discussions about a proposal we jointly made together with other member states and NGOs on amending the IMO model course on personal safety and social responsibility, PSSR, to better reflect mental health and psychological safety. And I really wanted to allow Mr. Alalamari to say a few words about this and his reflection on it. So please, if you would like to.
Eva, and thank you, colleagues, on all what you have said. It is an interesting discussion, really, and I'm sure we'll have hours of things to say to people outside there about the work of seafarers or how we protect the sector. Responding to your question, Eva, which is I'm very proud to work on that issue. So, really, the unprecedented changes to the maritime industry. I'm sure we all have to ensure that we maintain a healthy environment for learning and skills development. That is preparing the next generation of seafarers, protecting the actual seafarers, and the ones who will be in the sector sometime in the history. Above all, really, we must never forget that seafarers are human first. The activities of the working group and the focus on mental health and ecological well-being are therefore of the utmost importance, creating, let's say, a cohesive and inclusive workplace with mutual understanding and enhanced trust. I remember Mr. Doyaki just talked about this. Having worked as a seafarer too, I believe that the proposed amendments will facilitate and encourage a workplace of respect in the future in an industry that would really the world depends on. And if I may say a small story, I was explaining to my niece what is the importance of seafaring, and I gave her just an example, like and how we get her package along with her hands in less than 24 hours sometimes. So that is one of the things, and wanted to really say that was asked about the work we were doing. We are continuing to do within the IMO, spreading the awareness of it. Thank you.
Thank you. And also thank you for spreading the awareness and just using your voice to raise awareness for the people who don't have a voice at IMO. And I think that is we are so grateful for that. And I think I can speak of many people currently at sea or used to work at sea or want to work at sea, because I think it's nice work and also necessary work, but an important work. But yeah, and I'm very happy and proud for all of you to be part of it, and also the rest of our group with the Center for Ocean Policy and Economics and the working group we established. And I thank you all for being part of this live session on YouTube, and also for people watching this and taking the time. And please, if you have questions, you can place them in the comments below. We will take a look at it later as well. We will respond to you if you like, or if you have questions. So yeah, thank you very much for your time and attention, and we will be happy to see you the next time. And thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank
you,
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. For us, it's night here, so we'll have a good night. Thank you. I look forward to
have a good
continuing.
day.